ever sound for years. Just whispers. Distant cracks of thunder. No one paid attention. I wish we did.
Arc Raiders is one of the best games I've played this year. It is absolutely phenomenal. It looks amazing. They've really taken the Unreal 5 engine and they've done something with it that not many other studios have. It runs really well, straight out of the box, and how many other games can claim that for a multiplayer game, including other players, servers, just to drop on day one and it's just working like a dream. The team at Embark are actually a really young studio. They only brought out their first game, the finals, in 2023, and since then they've been working on Arc Raiders. So to say they're a young studio, that's not to say they're wet behind the ears. They've got some real experience within the DNA of the company. No less than Patrick Soderlund, the former chief design officer for Electronic Arts, and the former CEO of DICE itself.
In Sector G, we have a possible intruder in the tubes. Repeat, possible intruder.
When the elevator stops, exit with your hands raised. I cannot let you in until you show your face. How'd you make it here by yourself? Who are you?
So let's see if we can get this right. Arc Raiders is a PvP VE, that's player versus environment. It's also an extraction shooter. And I was thinking about what an extraction shooter is, and I always assumed it would need that PvP element. But it turns out that it doesn't, so games like Deep Rock Galactic or Helldivers 2 fall squarely within the category. So for those of you who don't play extraction shooters, there are three core components. You've got the incursion section, so loadout basically, where you're setting up your character, deciding what gear to take, which part of the map you're going to raid, and if you've got like a team, setting up your team and who's going to do what. Then you've got the main component. This is the core element of the game, and it's what I would call the meat and potatoes of the game. This is where you're actually going in, whatever type of game it is. So for example, Helldivers, you would land on a planet surface and you would start making your way towards objectives or just fighting enemies. Depends on the mission objectives. Now the clue's in the name. Obviously a looter shooter is, loot is involved, and Arc Raiders is no exception. Once you get in there, there is an absolute wealth of containers, cars, bulkheads, panels, lockers, you name it, you can raid it. And there's even specific animations for each one. So the way they've done it is, there's actually like a color-coded system where if you look on the map, you've got yellow areas, which are like a medium level of loot, and then you've got red areas, which are high value loot. Now, once you start to get into the game proper and start to upgrade your workstations, want to build a more powerful weapon, you're going to need some more high-tech stuff, some more high-level loot, and that is only found usually in these places, or at least you've got a far higher chance of finding it in that area. So the basic setup for the game is that humanity has been attacked by this AI-driven robotic force. They've attacked the planet's surface and have driven humanity underground. Very few people now come to the surface, and those that do is what you play as, which is basically the raiders. Now, extraction shooters have had other players running around before, people who will either attack you or not attack you, or maybe even work with you and do missions together. That is the unknown element, that is the thing that makes these games so interesting. But the Ark are, I think, the third leg of this triangle that make this work so well, because they add this other threat. Now, the Ark are very, very hard to kill in many ways. They are well made, they are well designed, they will move around the environment with a frightening amount of efficiency, and they will even do things that you're completely not expecting, like chase you inside buildings, or the flying drones will come down through like a gap in the roof to try and take you out. I've seen creatures make mistakes as well, because they're almost like a childlike but very aware level of intelligence. So for example, we had a leaper actually leap at us, go through a doorway and get jammed, but instead of just like the game crashing out or something, the leaper was actually actively trying to free itself. Now we took advantage of that and took the leaper down, which was pretty cool, but it's that kind of emergent gameplay that really does make this game stand out from the rest. So aside from the AI-driven opponents, as I've mentioned, there are obviously other players running around and doing their own thing. Now, the big question, the binary choice is somebody going to shoot you or are they not going to shoot you? And that question, that interaction between you and another player or group of players is what makes these games so deliciously amazing and unique, because it's a very human thing, isn't it, to approach somebody and be like, are you going to be okay with me or are you not going to be okay with me? And if it's the latter, you need to get your weapons out and start firing pretty fast, because yeah, fights between players happen quite rapidly sometimes, and before you know it, you're on the floor in a down state and someone's punching your lights out. And if you've got a really high level weapon or all your new stuff is in your inventory, it's all gone, and that can be a real punch in the balls.
Yo, I got some rusted tools for the gear bench if anyone needs it. Gear bench upgrade, rusted tools.
I'm alright, thank you. Thanks very much anyway.
Don't shoot!
Hey, friendly. So here we can see that in the space of a few minutes I run into a group of players who really helpful. Could have gunned me down in the back. I was just checking the containers, but they didn't. They offered to give me items and trade, very friendly. And then like a minute later I run around a corner and I'm instantly attacked by a player with no warning. And ironically, this is the triangle of threat that I was talking about, because I actually win the fight using a showstopper. But then in the last bit of health is taken by an Ark drone that comes down and just finishes me off, which was really frustrating, but that is the name of the game in Ark Raiders. So I'm very guilty of not giving sound enough attention in reviews. I kind of leave it till the end and just cover it very quickly, and in Ark Raiders I cannot do that because the sound is actually one of the most important parts of the game. So quite often when you are aware of a fight, the first thing you will hear is distant gunfire. And so that's you using your ears to listen to the direction of the fight, how close it is, and what is going on. I mean, sometimes you'll see a flare fly up into the sky and you know at least one player is dead. There may be another player there who's also injured or his shields are gone. And if you're the type of player who likes to take advantage of that, that's something you want to be listening out for. Also, your player makes a hell of a lot of sound just by walking, rummaging around in containers, breaching doors and breaking open containers as well. And so everything you do makes sound, even walking around on metal. If you know you're on sand, you're making less noise. You've got the idea that if it's rainy outside and there's a storm, that like covers the sound. So sound is a really intrinsic part of the entire experience, and I've never seen sound used so well in a game. It's absolutely exquisite. So while on the subject of sound, it's actually worth mentioning that the voiceovers requests and other bits and bobs in the game are actually generated from like an AI script that's been created by Embark. Now, they've used real voice actors to generate this, and the voice actors were well aware of what it was going to be used for, have been paid, and are all signed off on it being used for the system. Now, obviously, some people in the industry, a very small amount, but some have said that this is actually some type of like moral quandary, because in the future, obviously, voice actors could lose their jobs over this. So it's definitely something to consider. So unfortunately, this is a thing now. Rage bait or rage clicks are something that a lot of institutions and websites and content creators are using now to generate clicks. They say something that is completely out of whack, and it's like everyone's looking towards Art Raiders at the moment saying, wow, this is amazing, the game's popping off, everyone's really happy with it, wow. But then the one person that turns around and faces the crowd and says, hang on, this game is terrible, obviously they're the ones that get the attention. And it's a very cheap, easy trick to do, and it gets you what you want. It gets you the attention, gets you the clicks. And I feel like that's what Eurogamer have done with their review. They gave the game a 4 out of 10. And the only factor that brought it down to that was the fact that the game uses AI-generated voices, even though the human voices were involved. Now, I get it's an interesting topic, and I get that people need to talk about it, but I did feel that Eurogamer have got form for doing this, as well as like Polygon and the rest of the other review sites that do this kind of thing. So I just wanted to mention that. Anyway, cracking on with the actual review. So I'm really happy with the game, how it looks, how it plays, the performance. But I also wanted to mention that this game also has loads of attention to detail, to the little systems, and it's these little things that make the game play better, feel better, and look better. And some things I've noticed, for example, the parkour, the way the character moves, is really well done. You feel like there's a real good sense of momentum. When you start to run forward from a standing position, you get that initial big step like you do in real life to get momentum and speed. When you fall off or jump off a building down onto, say, a ladder, you slide down the ladder for like a period of time before you gain control and get a grip. There's also like really cool sound effects as well. Like if you're running down a staircase and you slide down the staircase, you can actually hear your backpack like hitting each step as you go down. And that's something that anyone's ever fallen down a staircase will have heard. But they've actually included that. It's such a good attention to detail. And even little details like if you're in a building, you see a piano and you take your axe to it, they've actually included sounds like the piano of like being smashed to pieces. Yeah, I mean it's small stuff like that that builds the world immersion, and I really appreciate it. So as for the weapons and gadgets, this is really good as well. We've got all kinds of different weapons that some will feel familiar, like the Osprey, or you've got like pump action shotguns. And then you've also got some weapons that look handmade, like we're obviously underground, we've not got access to all our old technology, so people have had to like bolt things together and cobble things together. And yeah, you've got that real nice like MacGyver feel to it. All weapons feel good to fire. I've not come across a single weapon where I fired it and thought I didn't feel the impact. The sound effects, like I've mentioned for the weapons, they went off and recorded real authentic sounds using like experts, and it really does show and pay off because it sounds incredible. And then you've got this whole wealth of gadgets and things you can use to take with you. Not only like medikits and stuff, but like defibrillators in case you come across another player that wants to be revived, or if you want to say use a zip line. There's even grappling hooks if you can get hold of them. They're very rare, but they do have them. Smoke grenades actually work. Like say if you've got a down teammate and you need to revive them under fire, throw a smoke grenade down and it works a treat, and it even confuses the orc as well, which is great. There are even ways to use downed components off the orc. So, for example, say if you down a hornet and you get one of its components out of it, the main driver of it, you can actually use that to stun other orc or other players just by throwing it. Even little tiny things like if you pick up a vial of chemicals, you can throw them to make like a loud bang as a distraction for other players and the orc as well. So yeah, it's a really fleshed out, well thought out system that has loads of diversity, and it's an absolute joy to play. So as I mentioned earlier in the video, there's a third part to these extraction shooters as well, is once you get back to the home base, obviously that's a process itself. You've got to get to an extraction point, and there's quite a few different types. There's like underground railway stations, there's vents you can climb down into, there's these like armoured bunkers that you activate, and that's a really tense moment because sometimes you'll come across other players who just want to get out. You'll get other players who are camping them spots, so it becomes like almost like a watering hole where you know, like predators know that people will be going to, and also people who just want to get out have to go to anyway to get out. You can get these keys that like let you out of like certain hatches, but most players will exit through these standard exit points. And then once you get out of the game, you've got your loot to go through. There's a really cool system that lets you bring all your loot out of your bag immediately, so there's no like messing around. I must admit, I've been fighting with loot from the start of the game. Your backpacks get really full very fast. Every single item of loot, weapons, ammo, they all go into the same pool at the moment, and I really hope that Embark kind of like tinker with this system and make it so you can kind of put things in their own compartments, because yeah, fighting loot has been one of my most negative parts of the game so far. Back at the base, you've also got things like you change the way you look as your character, like apply new skins, hairdos. I must admit, I've not been impressed with the amount of hairstyles in the game, but everything else seems to be fairly well packed. You can also improve your workbenches, so you've got different types of workbenches like chemicals or medical or refining things. You have a cockerel that scavenges things for you, which is pretty cool, and you can even customize the way they look, which is a nice touch. And then also, as you play, you obviously gain experience, which levels you up, and each level you get a skill point. Nothing new there, that's just like standard fare. And I must admit, the skill tree it's functional and it does some things pretty well, but it's not very impactful. It just has like a minor effect on gameplay. So for example, you make less noise when breaching a container, or you slide a bit further. So at the moment, skills are not that impactful. I kind of hope they play with this in the future and maybe give people a chance to reset their skills, because a lot of the skills, they don't really do exactly what they say on the tin. So I think a skill reset at some point will be a nice move, and also then to add like another layer of skills which like make things a bit more interesting. So in conclusion, what can I say about Arc Raiders? Well, obviously it's absolutely going nuts at the moment. Everyone's playing it, and everyone who's playing it is enjoying it as far as I can see. It deserves the praise it's getting. It's an absolutely phenomenal game. It came out of nowhere for me, and I see it having a really bright future. Obviously Embark have hit the ground running with content as well, which is one of the main stumbling blocks that people have with these games. They bring out an amazing game, and then it just runs out of content and people go elsewhere and drift away. They have an amazing roadmap. They've got new maps coming out, which they've already got a new map out, and that was based on a community-led event, which in itself is like, wow, you're doing this like weeks after launch. I can't believe this. They're adding new items, new cosmetics. They've already adjusted the price of cosmetics, which was one of the bones of contention for people, and that is really responsive. And they're obviously like on fire. They're just doing things and getting things done like straight away, and I have to applaud them for that. They really are on top of it. So yeah, if you want my recommendation for Arc Raiders, you've got it. This game is highly recommended. Unless some kind of miracle happens, this will probably be very close to my game of the year. I'm not going to say yet which one it is. I want to kind of unveil that with my proper game of the year review. But this one is definitely going to be up there with the top three, and it very much deserves it. I can't really think of anything else I want to say about Arc Raiders right now, other than it's ridiculously cheap. It's like 30 quid on Steam. For what you get out of that, that's peanuts. You know, go and give it a try. Trust me, you'll probably enjoy it. And yeah, the future for Outriders is very bright. I'm looking forward to the new content, new maps, trying new different game modes, seeing what cosmetics they bring out, and yeah, I'm really excited for it. I'm very happy for Embark. They've really nailed it with this one. So if you stuck with the review this long, thank you very much. I appreciate it. And I've really enjoyed making this review. I'm sorry it was a bit late. We had a bit of bad news in the family this week, so things have been a bit delayed. My next review will probably be Skate Story, like the indie skating game where you play as a demon made out of glass. Very cool game from Devolver. And then we're heading into Christmas, so who knows what will come. But I hope you're all well, and I will speak to you all soon. Take care, guys. Bye.